Back at it again, baby, and we got another one with Jordan Peterson. Let's dive in.
Because I'd had an experience in relation to you years before where I had made a firm decision that I would never in my life listen to anything this man has to say. Based on a 3-minute clip, mind you.
Do you remember what it was that I said that was so profoundly irritating? I mean, there's
do,
many.
Jordan.
Can you tell me what that was?
Of course. You were talking about the gender pay gap. And this was part of a longer interview, the interview that you had with Kathy Newman. And this was a clip, 3-minute clip. You were talking about the gender pay gap, and you were saying that, paraphrasing here, but that the reason for most women is because most women.
Did she say the interview with Kathy Newman? I want to say I've seen y'all comment about that in the comment section. I need to check that out. If that's what made her angry, a 3-minute clip, I definitely need to watch that for sure.
Women are agreeable. Most women don't negotiate, etc., etc. I believe that was essentially giving people options as to why it could be that there's this thing that exists or doesn't exist. And I didn't even finish the clip. I didn't even finish the 3-minute clip. But based on the things that another out of context clip that I had seen before, and the way that I'd heard your name being spoken of before in the context of the trans conversation that was happening around that time, 2018. Right, exactly. Again, I was watching this clip, and it's almost like I wasn't even listening to what you were saying. I had already decided that I don't like this man because someone that I trust has told me that I shouldn't like him. So therefore, the decision is made. Why do I even have to finish that video?
Right, of course.
And it was just...
And I'm sorry I had to stop it again, but I think it's important that we highlight that and understand that I feel like a lot of people have that same mindset. And I'm not trying to bash her or anything. I feel like a lot of people see a short clip that's out of context about a person or an individual, and they hear another person's opinion, and then they automatically hate that individual, and they never want to hear anything that they have to say. And I think it's important that we sit down and we listen to full clips and really hear what people have to say, because clips can be taken out of context. We have to be mindful of that. But anyway, let's dive back in.
Right? And if the decision is made, why do I even have to finish that video?
Right, of course.
And it was just, right? And it was just normal.
Well, we use heuristics like that all the time, and
Yes.
it's easy to get caught up in them because, well, you can't listen to everyone.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to make a snap judgment about almost everyone. And the default is you don't listen because there's like 7 billion people. So obviously you're not listening to most of them. So you don't need much of an excuse. And it's really easy for that to get, and I mean, it's not like I haven't experienced that. Like on my podcast, I invite people on. Abigail Schreier, for example, she wrote, I don't remember the name of her most recent book, but it's a investigation into the downside of the rush to make everything gender fluid, essentially. And I was terrified when I had her on. I mean, I was in rather ill health. Irreversible damage, yeah.
That's the one.
I want to have Andy Ngo on my podcast, but that also makes me nervous too. And, because he's...
Shout out to Mikhaila for pulling that up mid-conversation and make sure that she included the right information. Love it.
Tarred with the fascist brush. And then you get... It's guilt by association, and that might have been part of what you were feeling. So so you think, well, you need a simplifying heuristic, and part of that is, well, that most people aren't worth listening to, and he's definitely not worth listening to. And then that can so easily become politicized. And once it is, especially when the political has become religious, it's really, really hard to overcome that.
Yeah,
and so,
it really is.
A lot of the things that the radical left are pointing out are in some sense universal human failings. And so they have that truth about them. I mean, because we could ask ourselves, given the implicit tendency for human beings to have a pronounced in-group preference and the potential we have for violence against out-group members, how do we all address our proclivity to damn the foreigner? Okay, that's a really important question.
I feel like I've got a good answer.
Okay, let me add the one end to that. And then the next thing is, well, we all have these proclivities. How are they exacerbated by power and privilege? Right? Those are good questions. But as soon as we make it instantly racist, well, then we can't even ask the damn questions properly anymore. So, Mick, sorry.
My joke is over now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stomped all over your timely joke.
You stomped all over my tiny little joke. I was thinking about that question earlier, though. If everyone has these tendencies, which they certainly do, I've noticed that if I have a guest on my podcast, and I think my audience is fairly open-minded, but then I'll have a guest on that, and they'll hate them. And they'll be like, well, you can't just, even if you don't agree with them, maybe they are wrong, but like, you can't just cancel people because they don't agree with you because you're doing exactly the same thing that the people you're complaining about.
Well, you know, and also...
Oof. Can we give a round of applause for Mikhaila? Because that is 100% correct. We have to be mindful of not trying to cancel somebody else because they don't agree with us. Like Mikhaila said, they may be wrong. We may all sit here and be like, yeah, this individual is wrong. But when we get into the mindset of just hating and canceling folks, you're just as bad as anybody else, if that's the case. So I definitely agree with Mikhaila when it comes to that, for sure.
With you because you're doing exactly the same thing that the people you're complaining about.
Well, you know, and also maybe your stupid opinions aren't right. They're probably not right. And like, are you so sure your life is going so much the way you want it to go, and you're such a bloody paragon of virtue, and the light is shining out every orifice, that everything you think and say is correct, and everyone who disabuses you of your notions is evil? You're really so sure of that, are you?
One other thing that I wanted to touch on, and I forgot about this, we got to stop throwing race into everything. Stop it. Stop it with the BS. Race doesn't have to do with every single conversation. It just doesn't.
Of your notions is evil. You're really so sure of that, are you? So, you know, you wander around and you think, God, maybe I should listen to this person because I'm such an ignorant bastard and I'm so full of malevolence, and maybe they'll drop one thing on me that won't make me like miserable and doomed to hell and to drag everyone else there too. That's yeah, well.
You know, I felt something similar when I finally leaned into listening to you properly, because what was interesting, even after that moment in 2018, watching that 3-minute clip, deciding this man is evil, I want nothing to do with him ever again. And of course I didn't think I would ever have anything to do with him.
Yeah, look what happened.
Infiltrated. Yeah.
Right? People in my, especially people that were not really connected to the digital world, a lot of older men in my life, for example, and women in my life would always tell me to read your book. It's honestly, people would always say to me, Africa, you will really love this book. I would have friends of mine send me lectures. I think you're really going to like this. And I would just completely ignore it. And in my mind, I'd be thinking, what am I going to find? What am I supposed to like? Because again, I have this idea of you built up in my head. So I'm finding it very confusing that people that know me very well are telling me that there's something that I'm going to like, right?
Yeah, what the hell?
Very confusing. But again, for years, what the hell? For years, I ignored it. So when I started watching your lectures late 2019 and last summer as well, in the beginning, I could notice myself listening to you and waiting for a moment where I could say, aha, see?
Right.
I knew I was right. And you know what? I waited. That moment never came. That moment never came.
That comes for me
right?
all the time.
And that again, so it's like there wasn't one moment of being awake and then it's done. So many little, tiny, seemingly insignificant moments where I'm just sitting here by my sofa, just watching and listening, observing myself, waiting, for that confirmation that I'm right. Mm-hmm. And then it never coming. And then I have to deal with that. And then so again, my curiosity, I finally allowed myself to be.
And you have to be honest with yourself in that moment and not try to make up something in your own head. Oh, well, this just was a good clip of him. This just wasn't a bad clip, kind of situation. But I love that she's speaking about this openly because a lot of people need to hear this.
Curious again. And now Jordan, I can say you have been one of the most influential people to me for so many reasons I couldn't even mention right now. But to be able to have the conversations that I do now publicly, you have, and I could have never, never imagined this ever in my entire life. Things like this don't just happen. And
You're
the fact
breaking
that I
me
can
up,
tell
man.
you this,
Oh no.
thank you. Just thank you.
Mm.
Thank
I
you.
hate watching
You got
videos
him.
of people cry. Oh man, gonna make me drop a tear. Sheesh.
It's a pleasure. It's a rough pleasure, but
Mhm. I know.
you know, you knew what happened to me with Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
That was something. It's really something to see yourself portrayed. You know, I got accused of being a Nazi pretty much when all this happened. It was really something because I had been teaching students what we're talking about today, about these temptations that you faced and how people, as individuals, get sucked into that totalitarian hell. You know, and then
What happened with the Marvel situation? I don't remember ever hearing about that until just now. I guess he was accused of being a Nazi. Let me know in the point me in the direction of the video. Even better, please.
so that was something for that to happen, such a reversal. And then to have that comic book come out, well, it was surreal. It was absolutely surreal to be portrayed, because Nazi wasn't enough, right? We had to go right for the archetype itself. So I think we've raised about $400,000 for charity now on the basis of that. So that was a fun reversal. But it was really shocking when I first saw that. I just couldn't believe it. I was very ill at the time, too. I thought, this can't be real. This has to be Photoshop. This cannot possibly be happening. It's so
Right.
completely beyond comprehension. And, you know, to come from the pen of one of the foremost black intellectuals. And I use the racial category only because that's the categories that he's using
Yes.
to operate within.
Yeah.
You know? So
So life is really weird.
this is true.
Right.
This is
Right.
true. As this whole conversation illustrates.
Wow, great conversation. You love to hear it. You love to see it, except for the tears. Except for the tears. I don't know if y'all can see it, but my eyes got real moist in that moment. I think had I not wiped my eyes, dry a little bit, some tears probably would have fallen, if I'm gonna be honest, because you could hear and see the pain within that man, and you really felt for him. I can only imagine, when you're trying to help and you're bringing facts and statistics and studies to the table, and it gets flipped on its head and you're accused of being something that you're totally not. And you're just like, whoa, yo, I genuinely just want to help. That's all. Now, I don't know the whole Marvel situation. Please send me the video of the Marvel situation. I would love to check it out. We'll check it out tomorrow. But you felt for him in that moment. You really did. I fought like hell to keep those tears from falling. I fought like crazy. Also, shout out to Mikhaila as well for being a great host and doing her thing. She was amazing, obviously, but the focus of the conversation was Africa and Jordan. And another thing that I would ask you guys to do, please share this video. A lot of people need to hear and see this video, because a lot of people have the same type of mindset that Africa Brooke had at one point in time, and they need to see that and hear that message. We have to sometimes get out of our own way. Yeah, sometimes we have to make a snapshot, decision on a person or an individual like Jordan Peterson spoke about, but that decision shouldn't be etched in stone, so to speak. It should be etched in number 2 pencil, something that could easily be erased and changed at any moment in time. The way that you can share this video is the arrow button that's down below. It'll give you an option to copy the link of this video, and you could paste it anywhere: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on your blog, wherever. But a lot of people need to hear this message that Africa Brooke just brought to us today. Amazing. And shout out to Africa Brooke for realizing what was going on and understanding that sometimes you got to get out of your own way. Y'all let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. like, share, comment, and of course, hit the subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.